Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 424. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is presently the 8th of August in the year of our Lord 2024. Yes, the years and the months are just moving on by. We're closing in on the end of the year and it's a Thursday, and on a Thursday what we do is we talk. It's Thursday Talks. Whatever discussion you feel like bringing up, whatever question you feel like asking, be sure to ask it. Feel free. Ask away. I am here. We are here to discuss the topics as we are talking about with the possibility of $3,000 tickets in Trinidad and Tobago. I was hearing some time ago, I never actually looked it up, I was just hearing this. I could be dead wrong, but I was hearing someone saying that in some one of those European countries, I believe it was, they have tickets according to your income. And to me that makes sense. If tickets are really supposed to be a deterrent and not a tax on the poor people, then to me those fines need to be gradated based on income. Because should it be that if I have bad tint, because I'm already not a very wealthy person, that my punishment is to pay a third of my monthly income, while if a wealthy person has bad tint, their punishment is to pay 1/30th of their monthly income? That's a big difference. That's a big difference. So an excavator demolish a house in a video, I feel that my prefer to lose my job instead of. Yeah, Dalip Jairam. I think many people in those jobs where there's some kind of responsibility, you have to look yourself in the face before look at the man in the mirror before you take the job and ask yourself, what am I willing to do if I'm ordered to do it? That's some people's monthly salary. Yes, it is. It is some people's monthly salary. And then how is that a fair thing where one ticket is some people's monthly salary while it's some people's hourly pay? That goes against what you're saying we're aiming to do for this. Host, do you want to tell the people good night? You want to tell the people good night? Say good night.
Good night.
What's your birthday? Good night.
Good night.
Tell them what's up.
What's up?
Why are you eating your fingers?
Yeah.
Why are you eating your fingers? Alright, bro, I honestly believe that this whole ticket agenda is to remove certain people from the driving population. Torres, I kinda wonder about some of that. Because you combine the ticketing that we have in Trinidad, combined with the laws that the way they're supposed to be framed based on vehicles and their age, and what vehicles can be inspected or need to be inspected, you get the feeling like we do not want lower class people to be drivers on our roads. And here's the thing for me. I despise all of that kind of thinking and leadership. The PNM are specialists at that believe they should and could control what people do with their lives. But one of my major problems with a lot of that is people are horrible at actually doing the control that they want to control people's lives. So okay, if you wanted it that the poor people, you are making it such that poor people cannot drive their own vehicle. Well then, you have to do something about the PTSC. the Public Transportation Service Corporation, they need to be at a certain level where, okay, alright, you're torturing me on the road, at least there is some kind of outlet. So how could it be that I'm tortured for driving my old B12? Is licks on the road if I drive in my old B12. But at the same time, if I want to get to work and I want to depend on the bus, it's torture. As someone said recently, didn't the PM say that it's his business to make the rich richer so that they can help the poor? Here's the thing. I agree with that principle in principle. The problem is that's not even what they do. The thing is, if they were just helping the rich, we wouldn't have had much of a problem. Give the rich the foreign exchange they want. Give the rich the trading licenses they need. Allow them to import what they need to import. All of that good stuff. If that's what we are doing, that's one. But that's not it. That's not it. M-Man says there's too much of cars on the road, so they're trying to get rid of some. I don't think that's their job. And I understand that's a PNM mentality, that they want to micromanage the population and how they live their lives, but I do not think that's the government's job. And the thing is, when they try to do these things like it's their job, they aren't even good at it. How long have they been trying to decrease those cars? And it's a new series every week. It's not working because people don't work by beck and call, that the government, Mr. Colman Bird stands in Parliament and says something and the entire population just follows it as they go on. That's not how life works. No one is able to do that. The closest organizations and institutions that could make orders like that would be religious organizations, churches, mosques, temples. But go ask your religious leaders if when they say something from the pulpit, from the altar, wherever they're saying it, if all of their religious adherents listen and follow it. It just doesn't work like that. So the more the government seems like they're trying to squeeze the general population out of vehicle buying, the more the population is hopsing up vessel from a side. That's exactly my point, Torres. I would have been cool if you're helping the rich and leaving the poor be. Why are you harassing people in their old vehicles? You know, a lot of the times we take things at face value without actually questioning it. The ostensible reason that they say they harass older vehicles on the road are the accidents and such. When last did you see some old decrepit vehicle in a fatal accident? Somebody tell me this. When last did you see a B12 with a broken indicator wrap around a pole? No. When last you see one of those old iron lions in a ditch somewhere with the driver deceased? So the idea that this is to protect us on the roads doesn't actually bear up to reality. Willie Banks says the World Economic Forum said you would own nothing and be happy. Always bear in mind that Dr. Keith Rowley is one who ascribes to the old world order, at least the liberal economic world order. He is a subscriber to that. So it's no surprise if our policies go a certain direction. Fireflame says that is why they bring the property tax in Trinidad, pushing us that narrative. I don't know if that's why they brought the property tax. But one, the property tax was bandied about for much longer than the World Economic Forum has been saying you would own nothing and be happy. Remember, the property tax and the tax was there since 2009, when none of us knew anybody named Klaus Schwab. So that's not necessarily true. And I believe, as I've said nearly every time the property tax is brought up, I believe there is a sensible way to do property tax. I understand the idea that as a community we put money together to benefit the community. But that's the whole issue. I think very few people would mind if their property tax was surely going towards maintaining their property surroundings. That makes sense. Your community's surroundings, the place where your property is, needs maintenance. To do that maintenance costs money. It would make sense that the people who own the property in a specific region pay money to maintain that region. That makes sense. But the real problem, I guess, is would that be what the property tax actually goes towards? What castle are you talking about, Fireflame? Who owns a castle? And where is this castle? I don't know anything about a castle. Trinidad has castles. Torres says, yes, Nathan, but here's what happens. They take taxes and not maintain crap. And I agree. And that's why I understand why many people are against the property tax. It's not a matter of not wanting to maintain. And this is the annoyance I get when I see politicians responding to comments, and then sometimes even reporters asking questions. We'd see Dr. Rowley and the PNM supporters and politicians when they're mentioning Maraval. When you see Dr. Rowley and the PNM loyalists and politicians answering questions on the property tax, and they mention things like, well, people in they own property in Florida and they pay the tax in Florida, and they have no problem paying their property tax in Florida, but they come in Trinidad and don't want to maintain the place. Acting like if that's the issue people have with the property tax. Like, I mean, why don't you reply to the most substantive issue that people raise with the property taxes? It's similar to me to the Tobago issue. What's happening, love? It's similar to me to the policing issue. Yikes. To the policing issue where regularly out in Tobago, when they complain, don't touch. When they complain, the head of the police in Tobago says that people need to take a little discomfort and a little inconvenience. We don't understand why they are helping the criminals in these WhatsApp groups. And I'm like, why don't you actually respond to the issue the people have instead of strawmanning and making this nonsense argument that nobody is making? Nobody is arguing that they should help the criminals because they like criminality. No, they are saying that the punitive punishment on drivers is worse than the benefits we get on the reduction in criminality. So we're paying too much on the streets and not getting enough benefits from them being on the streets. And that's the issue. If you want to address an issue, address that. Don't come and tell us about, well, you know, you're helping the criminals in the WhatsApp group. Yes, we know. Sid says, so why don't we do what we do best? Stay home for 2 days, cook, lime, enjoy, see how they like it. It's according to who the they are. Who is going to stay home? You hear Faisal Rawi say that the bridge that collapsed cost 2 million. That's not an unbelievable number. I'd like to see what bridge they replace it with for the 2 million, but it's not an unbelievable number. White Leather says, I don't mind paying any amount in property tax as long as PNM planning's in Maloney and Valencia paying too. And you see, that's the problem with those communists and those help the poor people. And it's not that I have a problem with helping poor people. No. I have a problem with the people that always say they're trying to help poor people. That's the problem. The issue is those on the lower ends that need the help, they have nothing to give. How are you going to charge property tax to Maloney residents who have $1 lease and are owing hundreds of dollars? Like, how are you going to charge them property tax? What's the point in that? So anyone below a certain level, the property tax is inconsequential. That bridge is about 2 car lengths. The bridge has, I believe, a Wassa main running there. The bridge is quite wide. It's a wide bridge, although it isn't a very long bridge. There's well, at least was pedestrian crossing on the bridge. I think it's also more than just 2 car lengths. In construction, let's suffice it, 2 million isn't ridiculous for that bridge. Really, it isn't. This may be controversial, but if they get their ish together and lead the country right, we may actually have less poor. I agree, but who says that's what anybody wants? Poor people. Can't understand how it's cheaper to build an entire 2-story house compared to a bridge. You really can't understand that, sheep man. Are you in construction, sir? Do you understand what would go into building a bridge? Of course, building a bridge would cost more than building a regular 2-story house. To build a bridge, for one, you are going to have an excavator on the site for the entirety of that bridge. An excavator is what? What's the going rate for one of those excavators now? $4,500 a day or something, according to who is doing the rental. Just to get it on site. The price, those prices sky up very, very, very quickly. Really quickly. When you're talking about a big river open there and building a bridge over it on an expedited timeline. I don't have a problem with 2 million being the cost for a bridge, as long as you give me a $2 million bridge. If you give me a $2 million bridge, grand. And I can see there being a reason for a bridge to cost 2 million in such a case. I can see it. Now, I also wouldn't be surprised, Fire Flame, if they tell us 2 million, yes, Tyler, and at the end we see a $50,000 Bailey Bridge with 1 lane, and they're telling us we have to take turns crossing, each lane taking turns. I wouldn't be surprised. Sheepman says government don't own excavators. No. Actually, maybe in the Ministry of Works there may be some, but that's not how those things go. Bro, you know how long they're building the bridge in Barrack for? Till flood come and drown the excavator. Government, that's what we were talking about this some night. That's why some people love government contracts. And it's a kind of perverse incentive that government contracts give in the first place, where if you're in tune with the government, you might be able to get the government to rent an excavator on a site. They rent the excavator so long that the excavator pays back for itself. That's why you could leave it for floodwaters to drown it, because the government already bought 2 more excavators, so you just off of the rental for that. One of the things I always watch, any one of you ever taken when the government rent tents, how long they leave tents renting there? How long they leave tents renting? They will rent a tent for 2 years. Bro, you could buy 20 tents renting for that money. And they will never buy it, eh? They will never buy it. They will just rent that. In Guyana, a contractor was lost his excavator and was ordered to repay. Our government just throwing money away. You see how they're trying to add 2 new lanes in the highway? Yes, I see. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I am very curious to know, 1, what they were going to do at the walkover. 2, what they were going to do at Shoguna's flyover. I'm very curious to know how those things are going to turn out. Property tax on roads still bad. 6 million for a small bridge, I thought they said 2 million. And their friends and families getting the tent rentals. Well, of course, Harry. Of course. Well, Harry tent rental not going to get the tent rental. Who is Harry? You have to know somebody. And you have one tent, and your tent rental business making more money than people with 50 tents and trucks on the road. All you have to do is to get the government to rent that one tent from you. They claim the road traffic exercises are not funding drives. Well, then incorporate citations instead of ticketing citizens right away with exuberant costs. Sheppy, nobody believes that's not about raising funds. Nobody believes it. The nature of what they're doing seems obviously about raising funds. It's not about increasing knowledgeability on the roads. It's not about decreasing road traffic accidents. It's not about safety. It's not about catching criminals. It's about raising money. Trinidad developing. Okay. Well, rule of thumb, month end equal frightened to drive. Right now it's a better idea to travel like taking taxi. I am avoiding every single police. And here again, every time I say this, it pops back in my mind that these people jump up and say police trust, the trust between the police and the citizens is the biggest issue we must solve. I am confused. The PHI came up in tonight, man, so a roadblock and bust a U-turn. I don't blame him at all. Dalip Jairam says tackle crime with the same gusto as traffic violations, white leather, and nobody believes the police not getting their of course. Sage, I only drive when I have to. Torres says I only to find out he had no license again. White leather says as much as the TTPS claims otherwise. You know, that's a lot of the issue, you know. A lot of the people who are going to get punished in things like roadblocks would be the most law-abiding citizens. The citizens who didn't know that one of their number plate lights went out. They didn't know. So they're driving through the roadblock like, hi officer, and not knowing they're going to get a stupid ticket. The people who know they're driving with no license, the people who know they're driving hot car, the people who know they have the kilos in the back, the people who know their rifles under the seat, they're not going to sit down in traffic and cruise by a roadblock for police to tell them what you have inside the car. Of course not. There's a fund that is supposed to compensate drivers for persons who have no insurance. Guess what happened to it? Gone. Well, I was reading, if I remember the article I was reading on that recently, the insurance companies were suing the government to make sure the government doesn't use that fund to compensate the drivers. As far as I understand, the court ruled that the fund will be used for that, and the fund is still there. So I don't know where you got the evidence that it's gone yet. Discounts for police by prices for TTPS is at a premium now. White leather, I don't blame you, and I think the society may require more of that. As the police lose trust with the society, treat them like they treat us. They are there and we are here. They are the special guards of the elite class that tax us, and we don't like them. It's like I keep saying this: the tax collectors of every civilization were the hated class for obvious reasons. And our police have relegated themselves to the role of tax collection. That's all they're doing. You don't see a police and think, hey, you get a sense of safety and security. You see a police and think, I might lose $1,000 today. I might be losing a couple of $1,000 today. Hey, I said double charge police and traffic warden. Yeah. You know when officers used to get the discounts? Now, officer, your price is double. Why? Well, that's to pay back the tickets that you're all giving us. I wonder what's gonna happen then if businesses out here start to double the price on police officers. All servicemen double price because we have to pay the tickets you're all giving us. So you're all going to have to pay for those tickets too. Police is more than the Pharisees practicing state usury. The Pharisees were the tax collectors. The tax collectors were the tax collectors. There were tax collectors back then, and they were called tax collectors. They criticized the good Lord for going to eat with a tax collector. That's to show you how much they hated tax collectors. Jesus went and ate with a tax collector, and they wanted to crucify him. Get it? They wanted to crucify him over that. Like, how dare you eat with one of them dirty tax collectors? You don't know how wicked and evil these people are. Nobody ever liked tax collectors, really and truly. We need a Bangladesh in Trinidad. What do you mean, to chase out the Prime Minister? I don't like those things. Not that I like the Prime Minister per se. It's not about my favor for the one, it's my disfavor for the other, because those things don't usually end well, and they have lots of horror stories in the mix. While we're chasing out the Prime Minister and the country is in upheaval, the vulnerable people are the people who would suffer the most. We don't have that belly, Torres and Fireflame says. I'm glad we don't have that belly, to be very honest with you all. I'm glad we don't have that belly. Because, as I said, look what happened in 1990. You remember what happened with the coup, with the sudden onslaught of looting and that kind of rioting and stuff. That's what happens. That's what happens. Yes, you see a political end that you want to get. But a lot of people don't care for your political end. There are people out here who are murdering each other when the country is running in the correct manner. You think that the guys who will rob and shoot a woman who came to sell a car on San Juan Road, do you think those guys, if you start a revolution and kick out the Prime Minister and have the whole country upside down, you think those guys are just going to be like, yeah boy, things going to get better, like we just wait and see what's going to happen? Or do you think those guys are going to use the opportunity to seize power? Next thing you know, there's a barbecue ruling San Juan, a different barbecue ruling Darbody, a barbecue ruling Enterprise, barbecue being the gang leader in Haiti, and that's the kind of thing that you get. Government paying a private contractor for a forklift and their operator and still have to pay in-house operator where I would. Yeah, of course, of course.
Okay.
Really make people think you're Manisa. The same police and soldiers who were trespassing university students for the past month take over the government. Tear gassing university students for the past month take over the government. Like, being knowledgeable about what is going on, I think, is one of the most key things. And being knowledgeable allows you to make decisions in the most key times, with the most key timing. many of the times some of those smaller decisions aren't going to be revolutionary. They aren't going to create a big grand march through the nation, but those small changes coming from good thinking and proper knowledge on the issues, I think that's how you get a lot of positive change, and that's what I'm aiming a lot for, to be honest with this. Knowledge and cultural change. So if you're asking me what am I talking about all of this for, why am I just listing up knowledge and cultural change? Cultural change through knowledge. That's the idea. So that we don't have the emotion of it, where some random person could come up and stoke the emotion and get black people in the United States to go burn down cities for a whole summer, and when you hear the end of it, what comes out of it is fundraising for a political party and mansions for a few of the leaders of the group, and the murder rate in those inner cities go worse than they ever were. The black communities turn out the worst from those riots. They lose trust, they lose policing, they lose funding, they lose groceries, they lose fast food outlets, they lose lives. But somebody chained up their emotion. Black lives matter. You see the face? Black lives matter. Okay, they do. But you didn't take a moment to gain the knowledge and make the wise decision with it. So you just ran with the emotion. Up till now, so occasionally I still scroll through some people's profile pictures to see if they had a black fist up. If you had a black fist, and maybe some of you did, but if you had a black fist, I'm just letting you know someone sold you propaganda and you bought it. And that's the problem. Those things don't lead to solutions, they lead to more problems. And again, knowledge leading to cultural change. The idea that, and I keep speaking about this, the idea that the just do something crowd. You know, we need to just do something, anything, you know, just do something. Like if there aren't many more ways for things to go worse. White Leather says, I still have a Cody 2012 pickup. Big up, White Leather. You are an OG in the business. You know it. Coney, bring back our girls. Coney 2012. I was listening to a Spanish talk about Trinidad being a paradise as compared to Venezuela. Yeah. I do highlight that often, that many of the naysayers of Trinidad just need to grab a little perspective. Torres says, anywho, peeps. Good night, Mr. Torres Lafucard. I get captured that so easy back in the day. And that's the thing. The thing is, the people who do those things, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They edit their cause in such a way to attract people. Whatever happened to Boko Haram? Boko Haram is still there. And again, this is one of the issues, and I know this is I don't know if Abu inside the live on the low, if you will jump up with this one, but I know this is one that raises tensions. But this is part of the reason I don't take the whole Palestine genocide Gaza thing too seriously, to be very honest with you all. It's not that I don't care for innocent lives. It's not that I'm yay for war and murder. It's not that I'm yay for advantage or anything of the like. It's that the world is a horrid, horrendous, horrific place. That's not the only place where horrible things are happening. Boko Haram is still out there castrating girls, kidnapping people's daughters, kidnapping people's sons, murdering people, burning churches, harassing Nigerian Christians, killing them by the thousands. That's happening still. Where's the flag for that? What it is to me, Torres, is it lets me know your religious affiliation. And I'm not saying that as an insult, but that's what it lets me know. It lets me know you're most likely a Muslim person. Chances are. And then that even adds more in the perspective of this, where it seems obvious there is a religious angle. And I know people try to make you try to argue and gaslight us like, no, there isn't, but call a spade a spade. There's a handle there's a nice handle here with a nice long shaft, and then it's shaped with a little square. This looks like a spade. A spade is a spade. Let's call a spade a spade. Nothing is wrong with a spade. A spade has a job, but let's not mamagai ourselves and call spades clubs or spades diamonds or something like that. Meanwhile, people dying in droves in Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah. What do you care for? And I really don't like the guilt trip. People try to guilt trip you like, how dare you not care for this thing? So I have a daughter. I have things to do. I have to care for my daughter. She's two handfuls. Hands full. So Free Trini with a BLM fist. And you know what's the irony of a lot of that? The BLM fist is the same fist that was used in the Chinese Revolution, that was used, I believe, in the French Revolution, and it's a communist fist. It's literally from its origins from communism. Yay. The irony being that Karl Marx despised black people with a passion. Ain't that something? Anyway, people, it's a Thursday. Any further comments or questions on the inside? The host always waiting for me to jump out the live and go tucker in. So, y'all, any further comments or questions before I dive out? Guillotine or guillotine? Do you think debate should be a part of our election process? Yes. Yes, I do think so. I think it would get Trinidad into a different... It stands the potential of changing Trinidad's discussion when it comes to politics to being at least a bit issue-based. And I think debates in Trinidad would start to help the population to realize that we don't actually have differing parties with differing politics, differing political ideologies. They are around the same. They are actually around the same. It's not like we have leftists versus free market. No, they're all kind of left-leaning, central planning believers. Fireflame says, I sure Rowley busting some F words during the debate. Listen, I'm not a Rowley fan, but I think if you are a UNC supporter and you have bought the idea that Dr. Rowley is some kind of idiot man, you would be mistaken. And I think if I were to put my money on someone in a Dr. Rowley KPB debate, I think it's going to be a no-brainer for Keith Christopher. I don't know if that's controversial to people who really don't like the man, but listening to Dr. Rowley speak off the cuff versus listening to Mrs. Prasad Bisessa speak off the cuff. KPB is a lawyer. That's true. And not only a lawyer, Reeve, she's a senior counsel. She is a senior counsel. Still doesn't mean she could talk. And there are many lawyers who never tried many cases, They're qualified in law and live their whole lives as politicians. Kamala, over in the States, is a lawyer too, and I do not find her speeches to be particularly elucidating. I'm just saying, if I were to put money on someone winning a debate, as in the battle of ideas and the give and take, the counter arguments, that kind of thing, I'd bet on Dr. Rowley between our two main parties, and I don't think it would even be close. That's not even an endorsement of him, but I think it's reality. He might win against Kamala, but not against Philip. A Dr. Rowley Philip debate might be too aggravating for my soul. It might be too aggravating for my soul. That's what I think. I think that is going to get... Whew. Philip v. Gary. Let me make things real drastic. We're putting Dr. Rowley, Gary, Philip, and Anil all on the same debate. All on the same debate. Dr. Rowley, Anil, Philip, and Gary. 4 of them on the stage. Debate it down. Last man standing. That one, cuss might fly. Cuss might fly for that one. I feel though, knowing Dr. Rowley, if he see that list, he not coming to the debate. Dr. Rowley not even going to show. All those other 3, I can assure you, if they get the chance, they come in early, dressed best, waiting in line. But I think Dr. Rowley will avoid that debate, because that will be WWE. No, he ain't looking for all that drama. You know, the man is he's a pensioner age. You know, his wife retired. He looking to sit down in a nice house and rock back. Sheep man. How you want me read that? Sheep man says a pit bull, a rat, a Doberman, and a Patong. I am not going to attempt to put the label next to the name. Sheep man knows what he's speaking about. You go strong, sheepy. Not even close, that K, not even close. I don't know. He was around for a while, but I don't know where he is now. Your guess as good as mine. Have you read the book The Ubuntu Contributionism? No, sugar fingers, I have not. What is it about, sugar fingers? If they ever debate Nathan, you had to officiate. Lad! Nah, I don't even want to work. I rather sit on home and watch it on TV. I don't want to be the person that trying to tell somebody, wait, no, wait, excuse, Mr. Griffith. Mr. Griffith, it's Mr. Alexander's turn. It's Mr. Alexander's turn. No, Mr. Alexander, please do not address Dr. Rowley directly. Address it to the audience. Oh no! We cannot use that kind of language. That sound like stress. That sound like stress. I'll do it if they waive their right to sue, and I'm giving a big leather belt. So anybody step out of line. Whack. Or as they do in modern times, I have the mute on the mic. So, alright, that's enough. Mute. and only my mic going through. White Leather further up said, Gigi never see a camera he wasn't in love with. Of course he'd show up. Mute Anil Torres said, well, he has a kind of big mouth, eh? You imagine that scene. So I pressed mute and he continued. So he was making a point and he ran and guess what? And then you hear, what? Pick up through my mic. And he starts shouting. So now nobody can hear anybody. Like again, a headache there. Just in the thought. That's mayhem. That is mayhem. Poor KPB. Tanti Cams, let Anel do that battle for you. I don't think Tanti Cams will make it in that battle. That's not a battle for her. You know, on that kind of note, you could start wondering sometimes about the place that, as many places all around the world have views on, the place for women in leadership. Imagine you have a situation where you have a country ruled by someone like Mr. Alexander, another country ruled by someone like Mr. Griffith, another country ruled by someone like Mr. Anil, and then our country ruled by someone like Mr. Rowley. And you're having some kind of meeting, and then you send a lady in the mix. Like, would that be a good idea? As a country, would you feel most comfortable with that being the situation? Hey, whatever happened to Womansha? Well, they were a fad. Many of the wealthy young feminists, when they marry their wealthy male companion, their feminism dies with that, with their singleness. So many of those you might have to look for the next generation of Womansha. That previous generation of Womansha probably married with their bourgeois children somewhere in the West right now, forgetting all. That's just a thing they giggle about when they meet for brunch occasionally at Jenny's on the boulevard. Those have two groups. There's the rainbow side of the Womansha side, but a lot of Womansha was more bourgeois style of limousine activism kind of thing. And you know, that's one of the problems with a lot of feminist theory. A lot of feminist theory is upper middle class thinking, where alright, they say these things, but they don't actually live like that. That whole kind of, I could do it on my own and I'm a big independent. No, they're living on daddy's money, and when they're finished with daddy's money, they're going to get married to daddy's business friend's son and live on his money and raise their children in that. And then they're out there preaching a different thing to a generation of people. So Zamis can't be bourgeois. I don't know who is Zamis in it. I don't know why you're trying to get me to see the white leather. Hey! Any further questions or comments? Trini debates are necessary will end up in campaign old talk. Why duplicate? Maybe. But I think if there's a good moderator, and it's not a crowd like the crowd we spoke of before, that there may be a possibility for to get good fruit out of debates. We taking in the Iran versus US. Wait, they start? What happened that there's an Iran versus US war? I know there's movement, but is there already a war going on? I don't think Iran wants that war at all. And there are some people in the US that really badly want that war. So I don't know how that's going to go, but I don't think Iran wants that war. It's not in... Basically, all of the leaders of the Islamic regime in Iran, they only stand to lose with a war like that. I don't see that they are going to conquer the United States. That's most likely outside the realm of possibility. So even if you get what you want, you might cause serious damage in Israel. But almost surely, remember, they already assassinated one of the high-ranking members inside of Iran. Almost surely, if a war breaks out between a full-fledged war between Iran and the US and their allies, almost all the senior leadership of Iran is going to die. That's what. If you look at the kind of military that survives the United States, it's scattered guerrilla military where they can't find a leader, because the moment they find a leader, well, you're dead. So one serious question before I go: do you think that if we somehow began to change socially, it'll actually change the country the way we want it? Yes, but that's a massive if. But yes, I do think so. And I think the best way to do some of those things is to start in the small circles. That's where humanity was always supposed to be. That's how humanity was always supposed to function. You start with yourself, and then your immediate family, then your extended family, then your community, and then you go outward from that. And that's the sequence of concentric circles going outwardly that you could most effectively effect. You could change yourself. Changing yourself could help you change your family. Your family changing could affect your extended family. Your extended family being a certain way will affect the community. Remember when Trump sent a pack of patongs that ripped al-Baghdadi to shreds? A literal pack of dogs after they blew off the wall from the side of his home. Yeah. And Soleimani, in the Iranian commander, once your name is there, you don't want to be a named force. You're going to lose. Simple positive change: ban gunman tune on the radio during peak hours. I've said this before. Personally, I don't mind. It doesn't matter to me either way, because I don't really listen to stations that play gunman tune, to be very honest. I don't listen a whole lot of radio anyway. So it's not like it's going to affect me one way or the other. I just don't think it's going to work. I think here's what I mean with the cultural change tours. I think that's the vice versa of it. Right before you go tourist, this is what I mean. I think that's the vice versa of it. It's not that we need to ban the gunmen tune at the peak hours. No, we need to have a culture of people and families that radio stations know if they play gunmen tune at peak hours, nobody is going to listen to them. You go into different bars. If you are a lineman, you go into a different bar, or in some cases a sports bar, a pub, a nightclub, and different bars play different music because their audience has a certain culture that wants a certain music. You know when a bar starts being a regular for Venezuelans, all of a sudden the bar soundtrack turned to the Dominican Republic streets. Certain music brings different moods and methods of thinking. I don't deny it, but banning it isn't going to work. Because the music didn't become popular off of radio play. The music wasn't popularized from radio play. K-Man, Plumpy Boss, the original Rebel 6. Those fellas, they didn't make their name from Slam 100 and 96.1. They made their name from YouTube videos. I don't even think they ask anybody to play them on radio. They might rather don't play them on radio, because they would just have their underground scene, which might work better for them. Masood says, what you all come to realize, men don't need the radio again when it have social media and YouTube. Yes, exactly. When you pass by a group of fellas and you hear them banging some Trinidad, they're not playing 96.7, you know. That's not Sweet 100 they're running and it's radio they're playing. They're running that from YouTube. They could play it on repeat. They could play it on 0.5 speed. They could speed it up to 2 times the speed and catch kicks. They could do all of that. Do you think the people of Trinidad lack a dream or vision for people to believe in? Well, you see, that's part of the problem with a multicultural country in the first place. What direction are we headed in? If we were one culture, we would have so okay, if we were all Hindu, then we know that what we are aiming for is what do you call the word? When you reach enlightenment, as it were, that's what we'd be aiming for. So we'd be aiming our lives all towards that. We could form every law, all the habits of our society aim towards that. But if you have Muslims in there that believe a different thing, nirvana. If you have Muslims in there that believe a different thing, and they want to go to paradise with Allah, they would be aiming for a different thing. And then you have Christians who want to go to heaven and meet Jesus Christ, their Lord and Savior, and they would be aiming for a different thing. And if we are in a society that says all of those aims are equally good and recognized, then as a society, how do we have a societal aim? The best we could hope for as a societal aim is to hope that we could look through all of the different multi-cultures and extract out a general commonality that we all follow for some reason. That's the hope. And I guess that's the hope of a constitution holding it all together. And in a sense, that's the benefit, in a sense, of an external framework to govern Trinidad. As in a constitution that's based on the British system, a legal system that's based on the British. The ultimate decider is the British. You see, if all of these things were internal, then the multicultural issues are going to start to raise. If we have a Privy Council in Trinidad and Tobago, a Privy Council that determines ultimately all cases, and then you look at the Privy Council and see of the 6 law lords, 5 are East Indian, and the 6th one is a mixed person. You all think that won't cause problems in Trinidad and Tobago? Sheepman says Jolano said people wasn't calling him to play in parties when he was singing conscious music. Yes, I heard him say that. Potholes and cost of food common for everyone. Blessed good night, Nathan, and to everyone on the live. Sage, yes, problems are common to everyone, but that isn't the same thing as a unified vision. Yes, hunger is common, but who should we feed? How should we feed them? What should we eat? Should we give everybody pork? Should we give everybody beef? Blessed good night, Vibesy. Maybe we need a leader to share the vision who is persuasive enough. Maybe we do, Tony the ambassador. Maybe we do. Sheepman, I heard that, and that's what I was saying about the culture. That's why banning these men's music wouldn't work, because they attempted to ban their own music. Jalano said it. He sang conscious music for a while. Nobody played it. I heard K-Man say the same thing. He releases other music. It's not only Badman music he releases. He releases all sorts of different music. But the only one that reaches the top is the marrow flying and brain leak out songs. So whose fault is that, really and truly? The customer or the provider of the content? Vibesy, bro, the topic all over. It's Thursday, we're talking. But it's the end of Thursday. We've talked. And I'm looking to make my exit now. You came in a little late. So if there are no further comments or questions, I'm going to say goodnight to the folks and dive out. Any further comments or questions? Let's check over on the YouTube. Valetzi's first touch. Antifa set a working class college student's head. Hi. Correct, Valetzi. Correct. Valetzi, the day one. Day one. Rate up, Valetzi. Big up. I find it does be diving out fast when Hotep and them not in, you know. No. It's not that when they not in. It's just that when they're in, they drag on the conversation a lot longer. If there are people discussing stuff, there are people discussing stuff, I'm not just going to close it off on them and dive out. So, if there were people diving in, I wouldn't have dived out yet. But there are people diving in, and how much are going to talk? There's only so much one guy could talk. Until next time, people, I'll see you guys again for the next Mindful Live, which is going to be, tomorrow night. You should have a Mindful Live tomorrow night. I fixed up some of the equipment, so hopefully we could jump in over on Instagram again. The Instagram hasn't seen us for a long time, so we might jump in over there. You now start to talk, I really miss out. Yeah, bro, yeah. Jump in over on YouTube and you can take in all that you missed. And even though people say we're diving out quick, that's already over an hour. Already over an hour easily. So if you missed it, you can jump in over on YouTube and catch any that you missed. Nathan Springer over there. Good night, Tyler. Laters, people. Bless up all your whole self. Hold it on. Stay good. Stay well. Stay inside, outside. They're a little sketchy. I'm educated, informed, and entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This has been the Mindful Live. Until next time, people. Peace out. Bye.